So former Real Housewives of New York Bethenny Frankel was denied entrance to none other than the Chicago Chanel boutique. Now listen, I was debating on whether or not I wanted to cover this on my channel, talk about it, like is it lux space, is it newsworthy, like what's going on, what's the natural consensus? But I feel like this has gained a lot of traction, especially over on her channel on TikTok with I think like 15, 20 TikToks just about this event. So I'm like, you know what? I'm actually from Chicago. I've been to that boutique several times. Like, let's see it from a Chicago perspective and really dive into what probably happened here. Before we get started though, hey guys, my name's Caleb. I post luxury and lifestyle related content. When you ask, I love that about you. Please never change every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So if that's something you're into, hit the subscribe button down below. Consider joining the membership. We have an awesome community. We have member meetups, which is coming up very swiftly, which we will actually be shopping at the Chanel boutique again. Super excited. But when it comes to this whole Bethenny Frankel stuff, I figured the best way to tell you guys, bring you up to speed, is to actually watch the videos together. We're gonna react, and then I'm gonna give you my 2 cents because I don't know how I feel about it yet. So let's get started.
So I'm in Chicago and the man at the Chanel store opens the door like this much, like Ratatouille couldn't fit in there. And he's like, hello, do you have an appointment? Like he's like Lurch in the Addams Family, like you rang. And I'm already on the offensive and I'm like, no, I don't have an appointment. I have a credit card, I have a bag of carrots, popcorn, a basic purse. Am I not allowed to come in at 3:54 on a Tuesday? Evidently not. I don't have an appointment. And to be like, treated like you're an interloper. Like I'm just walking down the street, just opening up a door to just walk into a store. I thought that's what happened. Like I didn't realize that we're not allowed to walk into stores anymore. I don't have an appointment. Got to get a pap smear appointment and also to go walk in Chanel. No big deal.
All right, so I have several thoughts on this very first one, but first I want to address calling the doorman Lurch. Like, come on. Really? And typically, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, I actually used to work luxury retail. I have a friend who actually used to work security for luxury retail. Typically, the people that work the front doors at these boutiques are not employed directly by the boutique, the company. They are a third-party security contractor. Typically, these folks, they're going to work the door. They're going to be as helpful as they can, but ultimately, they are not employed by Chanel, Hermès, Prada, you name it. They're not employed by those companies directly. First of all, like calling someone Lurch for doing their job, like, come on, let's get real here. Like, it's not his fault you were denied entry. Another point that I want to point out, here in Chicago, things are a little bit different than shopping in New York probably. So here, we're still in the Midwest, so you could go in your comfies, you can have your basic B purse and your water bottle, which at Chanel they have a table out front and ask you to leave your water bottle out front. Just letting you know. And having been to Chanel several times here in the city myself, as you can tell, I'm not a Chanel boy myself. I've gone in with friends, I've gone in with the members meetup, I've gone in with just my husband, and every single time we have had impeccable service. Now, sometimes like the line's too long or you can just tell they're not letting people in, so we don't mess around with it just because it's not worth my time because I'm not a Chanel customer. But at the end of the day, like, here in Chicago, like I said, we're still very much in the Midwest. Like we're a big metropolitan city, don't get me wrong, but you're not gonna see a lot of people dressed to the nines in the boutiques as it is. Now, don't get me wrong, it's fun to dress up, but I myself have worn schleppy clothes into the Chanel boutique and still received impeccable customer service. Also, I want to point out this boutique was closing at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday. Typically with luxury retail and retail in general, Tuesdays, like that's like your middle of the week. It's not going to be your busiest time. So they're probably understaffed in preparation for that because after all, this is a business with a bottom line, a lot of overhead with that prime Oak Street real estate. Like they probably don't have a full staff. They probably have people with appointments, or maybe they had an event coming up. There's a lot at play here that doesn't necessarily explain why she wasn't let in. I don't think that I would go off of just her appearance, yada yada, for not being allowed entry. And again, thankfully she does address crime in luxury retail because as you all know, the last few years here in Chicago, we've seen a lot of protests and, sometimes the stores don't fare well afterwards. So you'll see a little bit more of a police presence on Michigan Avenue, a little bit more security at stores. It's a little bit tighter here than what you might have in New York City, which, like I said, she does address a little bit later. So we'll dive into that here in a second. But there's just so many factors as to why she was denied entry. And that's another thing. Like we keep saying she was denied entry, or was she just asked to wait? Was she asked to call back and make an appointment? Watching these TikToks, I don't feel like we have the full story here. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But then she goes back the next day.
I'm going into Chanel now dressed much differently than I was dressed yesterday. If they let me in because of how I look, Christmas is canceled. Let's do this. today. We're very nice outside.
Okay, now watching this second return to Chanel on day 2, keep in mind this is Wednesday. First of all, I have to address the outfit. It is impeccable. It is amazing. Like, we've known Bethenny to have great style over the course of her time on Roni. Afterwards, she's kind of taken to TikTok as like a luxury content creator, beauty creator, you name it. But I'm looking at the street. I don't think we went at the same time, so you can't really say that this is apples to apples. Chanel faces north. If you look down the street, the placement of the shadows from the trees, it looks like the sun is basically right over, if not, we'll give it benefit of the doubt, noonish to 1 o'clock. So going in a little bit earlier in the afternoon, not at 4 p.m. when they close in 2 hours, could yield different results. Like I was saying, like here in Chicagoland, like we're a very stylish city, do not get me wrong, but we don't dress like we're in Manhattan. I'll just say that. I don't either, so I'm not throwing shade at anybody. Like, I literally have some very embarrassing photos in Chanel trying stuff on because, hello, it's, you know, just shopping after all. So is the outfit what yielded different results? I can't say one way or another, yes or no. Does it make for entertaining content? Absolutely. Like, this whole experience with all the different Pretty Woman skits that she's done is quite frankly hilarious. Again, at the end of the day, we have to be a little bit more mindful. Timing, employees, it's the middle of the week now, so they might have had more employees on the floor that day. We really don't know all of the factors that went into being denied or being allowed in. But there are just so many factors that we don't really know. Like, there's a lot at play here, I think. And I think based on some of the comments that she received, she does address crime in the luxury retail space, so let's give that a watch real quick.
Let's talk about crime in luxury retail. It's indisputable that crime has skyrocketed, looting, robberies, and people feeling unsafe. So the man who opens up the door for me halfway, playing devil's advocate, who declines me, he is in the most susceptible, forward-facing, unsafe position. Because on that day, there were 0 armed guards outside, and if I were a criminal, by just opening the door, I could barge in and tear up the place, like anyone else with or without an appointment. So he's in the most susceptible, unsafe place. So this means that this $20 billion in revenue brand is choosing rudeness over kindness and safety for its employees. Because if you can't be nice to your rich and poor customers because they don't feel safe working there, the employees, then shut it down. Pay them and do online sales and just cater to your high-end customers directly. The $20 billion a year that's made by Chanel is not made on couture gowns. It's made on Chanel No. 5, lip glosses, and the bags, which keep skyrocketing in price, and you guys are telling me declining in quality. The margins are astronomical. They probably cost $50 to make a bag because the super fakes, which people say are identical, are a couple $100, and they have to make a margin. So this is an example of a luxury brand that people are feeling ostracized by. And so many of you in the comments have come in to say that you've had the identical experience to me. So it really doesn't matter who you are. And why would a brand have that be the first interaction that you have with it? Whether a small business or a multi-billion-dollar business, you do it right or you don't do it at all.
Now listen, Bethenny brought up a lot of good points in that third TikTok. That's why I wanted to make sure to include it. But I think, though, that she still is missing the fact that a lot of the people working the front doors of these boutiques are third-party contractors. They're not under the Chanel umbrella, so maybe they didn't receive the Chanel training, how to treat guests, blah, 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 yada, yada. And it is 100% their most important duty to make sure that the store, the employees, the products, most likely, and anyone visiting are safe while they're in that store. So by not opening the door, what I could see, and again, playing devil's advocate, maybe there was like a group of people who wanted to come in, trash the store, so they send, someone up to the door just to see if they can gain access and then push in behind them. I could see that being why maybe he didn't open the door all the way. Or maybe, it's like a social awkwardness thing where rather than opening the door all the way, you think, oh, I'm gaining access, then he has to tell you, whoa, 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 back out. That looks even worse than just like, hi, do you have an appointment? We're booked. So I could see it going both ways. Now listen, as someone who has been shopping in luxury retail for a lot longer than I would like to admit, there have been times where my husband and I will be shopping, and the one that I remember the most, where I felt like I was kind of being profiled and followed around the store, was at a very large flagship in Saint Germain when we were in Paris, I just remembered like how it made me feel. Like you're already going into these places where, and I can't speak for everybody with this assumption, but a lot of folks I could see might feel like maybe they have something to prove, like maybe, I don't want to say the term inferiority complex, but you already feel like you're at a disadvantage when you're playing against the house, if you will. So I could see, part of the psychology there, like, oh, I wasn't dressed up. This is why they didn't let me in. Oh my gosh, now I feel bad. Now I'm embarrassed. Like I could see that playing into a lot of what has happened here. Also, I think, and this doesn't again go for all luxury houses, but some of them do, like part of the game to make you buy more is to make you feel like you have to prove something. So like by making you feel like, oh, you just want a key clay, why don't you buy a Neverfull kind of thing? Like to make you feel like you need to prove more to be worthy or to be seen as part of the brand, then you're going to be spending more money. So a lot of psychology does go into luxury sales. So again, there's a lot of psychology here at play. At the end of the day though, I do feel bad. Like no one likes to feel like they aren't let into the club. And in fact, this reminds me, which also happened here in Chicago. Gosh, what was it? It was like 20 years ago. And I'm going to have to, I don't remember the full story, but Oprah herself, queen of multimedia in Chicago, was not allowed entry into an Hermès because they were planning a private event. So, I mean, it does happen, and it can happen to literally anybody for any reason. Rich, poor, celebrity or not. There are going to be times shopping at these stores where you're turned away or denied access. Is that right? Does that make you, feel good and want to buy into the brand? Absolutely not. I myself have actually been laughed at a local boutique when I asked to see something, literally scoffed and laughed at in my face. So it happens. Like I've been on the receiving end, you've been on the receiving end, Bethenny's been on the receiving end, and it's not fun. It doesn't feel good. So at the end of the day, as we're becoming more conscious and more aware of our surroundings, of other people around us, is this the right approach to luxury sales, the exclusion, if you will, the exclusivity of it all? Absolutely not. I think that, at the end of the day, luxury fashion, it's just fashion. Fashion should be fun. It should be a form of self-expression. It should make you feel good. And being denied access, whether it's for your outfit or whether they're just busy and understaffed that day and have too many appointments, it's too close to closing time, it doesn't make you feel good. So in my opinion, and again, the person who opened the door may or may not have been employed by Chanel directly, they should have said, hey, we're a little booked up today. Can I get an SA to call you and make an appointment for tomorrow or at another time? That would have been the proper way to handle it. Was it handled that way? It doesn't appear so. But at the end of the day, this is what happened. Now listen, 99% of my experiences in boutique have been amazing. I mean, more so when we're shopping abroad versus here in the States, but that's a whole other debate for another day. But I want to hear in the comments, like if you guys received similar treatment, how did it make you feel? What do you think was the big factor here at play? Was it Bethenny's outfit? Was it just understaffed in your closing time? Let's get a conversation going. Until next time, stay safe, have fun. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.